Okay, I want to shift gears now. We've really spent the first part of this presentation covering the first two key points. We have spoken about market trends. We have identified for you literally trillion-dollar markets that are growing by billions of dollars a year. And we've identified for you very unique products that have patents and copyrights that do things that no one else can do. And now we want to move on to the third key area, and that is to talk about the company. Can this company support the efforts of all of us as distributors, and especially can they support them through this record-setting launch of Gamma? Let's just back up for a second and give you just a quick glimpse of what's happened in the history of this company and what these key entry points have been where distributors, people like you and I, have had a look at this company and have said to ourselves, that's unique, that's different, and that is very compelling. I think I'm going to participate. I made that decision over 23 years ago. John McClellan, our host today, made that decision, 22 years ago. I've got people who've made that decision in the last year, people 9 years ago, 12 years ago, 5 years ago. There's different entry points where people see that they can get involved in this company, which everyone considers the Mercedes of the industry. And they want to find a way to do it. How can I ever get myself there and make the transition where I could go from whatever I'm doing now in my current financial vehicle that is somewhat inferior and somewhat flawed and get into a vehicle where I could create this recurring income? How could I pull that off, okay? Well, the first thing that happened where people saw entry points that were like 100% sure were these country openings. Nu Skin in 1990 had been in America in business for 6 years and made an announcement that they were going to open the country of Canada, our neighbor to the north, for the Nu Skin opportunity. Now, some of us just didn't quite get it, but some people did. And I had a leader in my organization who was based in Washington, D.C., and this gentleman said, I get it. There's 30 million people up there, and I'm on the same equal footing with everybody because it's a brand new country. So everybody's lined up at the starting gate. We're all going to start the same day when they fire the gun. So I'm going to do it, and I'm going to find some people that will build networks and create business in this brand new market, very exciting market. And so he was successful in finding a lady, a woman by the name of Darlene Shear. And she became the first team elite, our top leadership position in the country of Canada. She created a massive organization that then spread to other markets. And my friend in Washington, D.C. earned millions and millions and millions of dollars from that one person. Okay? That story has been repeated thousands of times throughout the 53 countries that Nu Skin is now operating in. And it is so conclusive that every time we open a market, people realize this is not their first rodeo. We've done this so many times that it's a foregone conclusion as to what will happen. In fact, the only question remaining is who is going to capture the market. People say, well, will it work? Will those people like the product? Will it work on those types of skins in those different countries and those different ethnicities? And, will the pricing be right? And, will the timing be right? And will you guys market it right? All these questions that are normal, valid questions. But all those questions are out the window now. They've all been answered and answered conclusively. And the only question remaining is who's going to get the market share. Who's going to identify the leaders that are literally waiting for Nu Skin to show up in their market, and who's going to put them into their network and carve off market share. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I did figure it out by country number 5 or 6. And Nu Skin ended up opening the country of Japan. And I focused on Japan. I just thought, I'm not going to miss this market. I'm going to find out a way to get a big piece of it. And I spent about $150,000 of my own money getting on airplanes, flying to Japan about every month, staying in very expensive hotels and eating food I didn't understand and trying to speak a language I couldn't speak, couldn't even communicate. And the worst part was the whole time, 18 months, I'm getting no return on this investment. I'm just doing this all on the take, on the come, like, okay, I'm just hoping that it's going to end up happening. I hope the government's going to approve our entry for the company to come into the market. I hope the products will get approved. I hope I'm finding the right people. There's a lot of question marks. Very expensive, very difficult, very exhausting, and very risky. And yet we were able to do it, and the results were spectacular. I have made millions and millions and millions because I worked very hard on the opening of Japan and captured some market share when that market finally launched. And that story, again, has been repeated many times. Let's go to the second entry point. This has to do with technologies. As Nu Skin was opening more countries, about year number 20, the company crossed the $1 billion revenue mark. They did more than $1 billion in sales in their 20th year of existence. Now, that's pretty remarkable because I have learned that once a company gets to $1 billion in size, they get a ticket to the dance. Anybody who is less than that, any startup company, they don't have a prayer. They don't even get to look at these things. Companies don't even take them seriously. And so we are now at this point where we're starting to get invited to look at things that only serious companies that have the wherewithal and the resources to exploit them get to take a look at. One of these, as we've already described, was the biophotonic scanner. 5 international patents. Nu Skin acquired the exclusive rights for the entire world for that technology from one of the top universities in America. This is based on Nobel Prize-winning science, okay? That was an entry point. I had personally people that I knew that saw that scanner as a game changer in the world of nutrition. They realized that no one knew if their supplements even worked or not. And here, for the first time, was a device that could prove it in 90 seconds. They realized that was a game changer. I've had people make more than $10 million in the last 9 years on that technology alone because they saw it and that was their background. That's what they were focused on, and they did it. That was their entry point. I've had people who, number 2, went out there and related to the galvanic technology that we acquired. 2 patents on putting galvanic technology right in the palm of your hand. And let's just move our pointer over there, the galvanic technology, okay? So you can see that one right in the middle of the screen there. And I've had people who identified with this technology that have literally made millions and millions of dollars because that was their entry point. And now with AgeLoc technology, since the acquisition of LifeGen and us having the 18 patents and patents pending on AgeLoc technology, we have now had people set an eclipse income records in the history of network marketing that people thought would never be eclipsed. We've had people with the launch of AgeLoc technology earn $1 million per month bonus checks. You heard that correctly. $1 million per month, okay? AgeLoc technology is now the most significant product entry point that we've ever seen. And let's go to the next one, okay? Let's go down and talk now about the third entry point, which we have titled LTOs. That stands for limited time offers, okay? We have a Korean flag insignia here on the screen because this concept was developed in the country of Korea. Normally, when Nu Skin would launch a new product, it would go like this. The scientist would work on the product for a couple of years. They'd come up with something very potent and powerful. The company would then announce that product at one of our conventions. All of those in attendance would hear about it and hear a presentation or two from a couple of scientists about the unique features of these products and why people would want to use them. And then the product would be available in the product store at the convention, and we would achieve maybe 7, 8, maybe 9% adoption rate in our distributor force at the launch of those products. And that's frankly because that's about the percentage of distributors who would come to the actual convention. Most of them didn't come to the convention. So that was the adoption rate, and that's how it went for literally almost 20 years. Well, in Korea, the leaders there had an idea, and they said, let's do this differently. And they were able to work closely with the company to create this LTO process, and here's what it is. Instead of just doing a launch like I've described, they would start to talk about this new product a year in advance of the launch. They would introduce it to the leadership would introduce it to the distributors introduce it to the customers, and over the course of 12 months, they would have an entire plan where they would then introduce and educate and create excitement around the launch of this new product that was coming. And then when it got to the convention or the event where the product was launched, then the product would be made available for a limited time only. And maybe it was a week, maybe it was a 2-week period of time, and then the product would be removed from the market. It would not be for sale any longer. And this seems a little counterintuitive because you would think, wow, all that work and marketing to get people excited, and then you make it available and then you pull it back. What's that all about? It is actually an ingenious marketing concept for this particular industry, okay, that we're participating in here. And here's why it's ingenious. Because people who are distributors and leaders would then say to themselves, I know it's available for a limited time only. I know I'm going to want this product for the next 6 months when it's not available. I think my spouse is going to want it. And undoubtedly, I'm going to run into lots of customers who are going to want this product also in that period when it's not available. So I need to plan accordingly. And the effect was they would take orders that would normally have been strung out over the next 6 to 12 months, and they would compress those orders into one commission period, one volume month. And this had the effect of generating a very significant surge in the size of the bonus checks for that commission period. That created a surge in the confidence level of those leaders who participated in that limited time offer process, because they were now convinced, because they saw it with their own eyes, that this compensation plan produces real bonus checks if you put volume through the plan. They saw it for real. They experienced it themselves. And so it created a really unique, successful launch of a product. And the product adoption rates ended up being literally 40 to 50% in the distributor base because of this year of teaching and educating. So this was not only better for the distributors, it was much better for the company, because these SKUs they have now in the warehouse are really moving off the shelves. And it's really interesting for a third reason, and that is because when you have that kind of education and adoption rates among the distributor force, then you have much higher and very stable executive group volumes. And if we were to look at the average executive group volumes and say which country in the world has the highest average executive group volumes, you guessed it, Korea. Over 5,000 GSV every month in those volumes. So this is really significant, and it made a big difference. Now, in the beginning, a couple of handfuls of the leaders participated in that very first LTO in Korea, and a whole bunch of leaders thought it was a gimmick. They just kind of sat on the sidelines. They said, this is just a marketing ploy. We'll just wait till it's in the catalog, then we'll buy it. Can you imagine that their kind of dismay when they recognized and witnessed what happened with the LTO and realized that everybody was talking about that product and they had none, nor would they have any for the next 6 months? It put them at a big disadvantage. What do you think they did the second LTO in Korea? Yeah, most of them started saying, hey, maybe we should participate in that. And by the third and fourth and fifth LTOs, all the leadership in the entire country was completely on board and participating in these LTOs. They've done this for 10 years now, ladies and gentlemen. They have a 10-year history of successfully using the LTO strategy like a ratchet to just crank up their volume year after year after year after year, to the point that Korea last year surpassed the United States and Canada in total volume. That's right. 42 million people in the country of Korea are doing more volume than 360 million people in North America. Frankly, I'm embarrassed. And what we're going to do is take the proven strategy of LTOs, and we're going to use it as a ratchet in America to take this market to $1 billion plus over the next several years here. So it's very exciting times. Now, advancing the slide again, this is to show you Southeast Asia. Now, Southeast Asia was sitting there watching Korea for numerous years, and they finally said, we ought to be doing this ourselves. And so in 2009, they had their first LTO between Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, and Thailand. And they did $5 million with that LTO. A lot of leaders did not participate, but they did the next time. And in 2010, at the next product launch, they exploded more than 3 times the volume to $17 million at that LTO. That increased more confidence in the distributor and leadership force, and they just did their third LTO in 2011, more than $100 million in a week, okay? You are talking about literally game-changing volumes here. You're talking about significant product launches. Who knows how big Gamma's going to be, but it is going to be super significant, okay? So this product, this unique approach, never before available, is going to be available for the first time on October 24th of 2013. That will be the launch date, and I can promise you the lines will be very long, okay? We are going to have the opportunity to be able to pre-order this product in advance of the 24th of October next year. And I can promise you that I believe personally that all $75 million will be pre-ordered even before we get to the 24th. I think it'll all be gone. And that's because Nu Skin is going to make a new way, a new strategy available during this LTO for us to be able to lock in pre-orders, and that'll happen about 4 months in advance.